Hey, this is Marco Serrano. If you've been thinking about buying a home with a pool, and maybe you're a little scared about the maintenance that's involved in order to keep your pool equipment running efficiently, I'm going to be servicing my pool equipment today just to kind of show you how simple it can be. And hopefully you find it simple yourself, where you can reduce the cost of paying somebody to maintain your pool because you're going to be able to do it yourself. So I'm going to get started. Let me show you some of the first steps that I do. So I make sure my pump is off, release the air by opening this valve. I let the air run out, and then when it runs out, I move to the next step. Okay, now that the air is out, the next step is to loosen this part up so all the water can come out of the filter. What I do is I start taking the filter apart so I can start cleaning the cartridges inside. Now that all the water is out, what I'm gonna do is start loosening this in order to take off the belt. Now this is the belt that holds it together. Set it to the side. Now this is really important. Okay, now before I take this top off, I marked it with a waterproof marker. Then that way when I put it back together, I know where it sat exactly. I just line it up with the markings that I made. Okay, now this is where you want to check your filter manual to make sure all the parts are here, because when you take it apart, you may find when you follow the filter manual, you may be missing some parts that you want to make sure that they are replaced, so that way your filter runs efficiently. So I'm going to get started with the cleaning by taking it apart and start washing the filters. Now this is where the filters sit, so I'm just going to rinse it off and then put it back the way I got it off out of the filter. Okay, now this is where the filters sit on. So before I rinsed it off already, so before I put it back in, I'm going to just clean out all the garbage that's in the tank itself before I put this back on. Okay, now that the tank is clean, I'm just going to rinse around it to make sure I get any of the debris that's maybe on top of it. Okay, now it's time to start putting it back together. Again, this is the plate that the filters sit on top. So when I put it back in and I start putting the filters in, I want to make sure that the filters sit on, that this fit into the fitting where the filters go. So when you're taking it apart, you kind of want to make sure you keep either a picture or a video of how things are, so that way you don't have to try to remember. And then that way, if you have a question on how something goes back in, you have a picture or video for reference. And if you want to, you could always pull out the manual of the specific filter, and it should tell you how it goes back together if you're able to figure that out. If not, what you may have to do is just hire a professional maybe to come out and show you how to do it, and make sure that everything is there in order for the filter to run efficient, which is a great idea, especially if it's the first time you're going to do it. Then that way you always have a reference on how to clean the filter in the future. So I'm gonna start putting this back together again. Okay, now I'm gonna start putting the filters back. I wanna make sure that fitting fits into this part of the filter. Okay, now this sits on top of the filters. I'm just gonna rinse it just to make sure it's clean. And then I'm gonna set it where, and then I'm gonna fit it on top of the filters. It doesn't take much pressure. I wanna rinse it, make sure it's clean. Now it's time to put the top on. Okay, now I'm gonna put the top on. Remember I marked it because I want to put it back exactly the way I took it off. So that way I make sure I eliminate any possible leaks. I'm putting the belt back on. First I want to check, make sure. First I want to make sure everything is aligned. I'm gonna put on the cap that goes at the bottom of the tank. I don't make it very tight, but I do make sure it's tight enough where it feels like it's holding good. Okay, I'm almost done. Now I'm going to clean the pump basket. I do is I get all the debris out of it. Okay, so what I did is just rinsed out the debris out, and I'm going to put it back together to make sure that the pump is full before I start it. Okay, I started the pump. I'm going to take all the air out of the tank. And that is it.